All right, today's video is Chapter 3, Lesson 2. So we did Chapter 3, Lesson 1. That was when we graphed them using the intercepts and we graphed using the table. We skipped over to 3, and that's when we talked about slope. We're coming back to 3.2. Okay, so 3.2 is solving equations by graphing. What does that mean? Well, you know how to solve an equation. Let's say we have 2x plus 4 equals 8. You know how to solve that equation by doing algebra. You know how to solve it algebraically. Subtract 4, 2x equals 4, divide by 2. Well, have you ever thought that this could actually have a picture even though there's no y? The picture to that would be something like this. The answer is 2 because that's where the yellow line crosses the x-axis. It crosses the x-axis at x equals 2. That's why x equals 2 is the answer. We can prove it algebraically. We could also graph the equation and we could prove it using a picture. Do you remember when we had these equations? We had one of them on our last test where the stuff on the left matches the stuff on the right. Left and right, they match. And do you remember what the answer to that was? All real numbers. So what would all real numbers, all solutions, what would that look like on a graph? Well, let's go back. This guy, he's the answer because he crosses at x equals 2. He crosses at only one spot. So what's it going to mean if it's all answers? He is the x-axis. The yellow line hits the x-axis everywhere. The picture to any of these, any of those pictures, is this yellow line who is sitting on the x-axis, so of course it hits every single spot. All right, do you remember the equations where when we got done, the left and the right were numbers, but they didn't match each other? And we said that was no solution. So what would a no solution look like on a picture, on a graph? Let's recap. One answer, if you end up with one answer, it crosses once. All answers, it is the x-axis. So no answers, what would that look like? Well, it would be a horizontal line, maybe above, maybe below, but it would be a horizontal line that doesn't ever touch the x-axis. So it's parallel to the x-axis and it's never going to touch. So no solution never touches. All solutions is the x-axis, and every other answer is going to hit the x-axis once. All right, let's go back to this first picture. So we said that this spot right here is the answer. Well, we actually can say 4 things about that location. We can say that 2, that location of 2 is the solution, which just means answer. We can say that 2 is the x-intercept. We talked about intercepts already. 2 is the x-intercept. And these next 2 words are new. We can say that 2 is the root, the root of it. The root is it's just a synonym for solution. It's a synonym for x-intercept. It's a synonym for answer. It's just another word that you can use to describe it. And our last synonym is 0. 2 is the 0 of the equation. So if the textbook uses 0, root, x-intercept, or solution, they're wanting the same thing. They want to know the spot at which this yellow line crosses this x-axis, and it crosses at 2. 2 is the solution, 2 is the intercept, 2 is the root, 2 is the 0, 2 is what we want. All right, let's figure out the root of this equation, the root of this one, or the solution, or the answer, or whatever you want to call it. We're going to solve this equation. I'm going to do it both ways. So I'm going to do it using the picture, and I'm also going to do it algebraically. You'll see that the answer is the same. We just have two strategies for finding the answer. If I'm going to solve it algebraically, I need to get x by itself. And right now, x is attached to the 1/3. It's also attached to the -2. So this is a two-step equation. I want to get rid of the 1/3 and the -2. Let's get rid of the 2 first because that's backwards of PEMDAS. I'm going to add 2. Add 2, add 2. Cross out what's my answer. 0 plus 2 is 2. Now I need to get rid of 1/3. I like to get rid of it by multiplying by 3/1. That way I can do it in one step. Come over here and multiply by 3/1. Well, nothing crosses out. I mean, these guys cross out, but nothing crosses out on the left. But I end up with a 6. X equals 6. So I just found the answer. I found the answer. Yay, it's a 6. We need to now prove it over here with the picture because this was last chapter. This is this chapter. So I know how to graph making a table. So I'm going to make a table of values. Since I have to take a third, I think 0, 3, and -3 would be good numbers to pick. So I need to ask myself, what is 0 times a third? Well, that's 0 minus 2. What is 3 times a third? Well, that's 1. 1 minus 2 is -1. -3 times a third, that's -1. -1 minus 2 is -3. So I've got my 3 dots and I can start graphing them. Okay, so I've got my first one is at 0, -2. Then I'm going to go 3, -1. Oh, shoot. 3, -1. I think I'll do this in purple so you can see it. And then -3, -3. Well, if I connect these, they don't actually cross anywhere. They don't cross this line. So do I say no solution? I mean, I know that it's supposed to cross at 6. I don't think I picked the right numbers, and you're not going to know until you just start picking. But you know what? Since we've already done lesson 3 and we know about slope, let's just keep the pattern going. I'm going up 1 and over 3. Up 1 and over 3. Let's go up 1 and over 3. That's exactly where I needed. So now I can prove with a picture that the root is right there. It's right there at x equals 6. So we're going to take what we know about making a table, picking x's. If we don't pick the exact right 3 dots, we just can keep the pattern going, or we could come over here. We could have picked another one. I could have tried 6 right here, and a third of 6 is 2. 2 minus 2 gives me 0. Boom. Right there is my 0, my 0 of the equation. My solution, my root, my answer, my 0, my x-intercept. My x-intercept is at 6. All right, let's try one of these. I have 3x plus 7, 3x plus 1. If I subtract 3x from both sides, I'm left with 7 equals 1. I know this is going to be a no solution, but I'm supposed to show a picture. I'm supposed to be solving this with a picture, solved by graphing. So I'm going to need for all of my numbers to be on one side. I need one of these sides to equal 0. If I say minus 1, now I have 6 on the left and 0 on the right. That means that this is a horizontal line at y equals 6. So when you get a no solution, when you know that it's going to be a no solution, move all of your numbers to one side so that you get a 0. Once you get a 0, then you know that it's going to be a horizontal line, and this tells you where the horizontal line will be at. It'll be at 6. And you always want to make the right side equal 0. You don't want to make the left side equal 0. So whenever you're doing this, subtract, add or subtract to make the right side equal 0. The reason is because we're really graphing f of x equals 6. It doesn't really matter. Just trust me, make the right side equal 0. There is a reason. All right, here are your Google Classroom questions. Question 1, explain what a 0 or a root is in your own words. So give me back some of the things I've been telling you in this video. What is a 0? What is a root? Question 2, looking at this picture, how many roots does this graph have? And question 3, the book's directions will say solve by graphing. So this would be a question in the book. Solve by graphing. What is your first step? So how are you going to start this question? What's going to be your strategy, your game plan? What are you going to do in the beginning to even get started? If you want a hint for this third question, go back and look at the example I did where we had 0 equals 1/3 x minus 2. Remember that we have to solve by graphing, not solving it algebraically. If you're going to solve by graphing, how did we solve this by graphing? Tell me what's your first step. If you want to tell me your first couple of steps, that's fine too. But basically, what's your procedure? What are you going to do when you see something like this or something like this? What are you going to do to solve it?